I'm popping on here because I just want to talk out loud, really, about this awful, awful case that has since resurrected about how a 15-year-old schoolgirl was abused, traumatized, and just completely not treated as a human being. Massively let down by the Metropolitan Police, massively let down by her school, her teachers that are meant to safeguard student safety, and I read about this earlier on today, and like for a long time I haven't remembered when I literally read something and just felt like bawling, because I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but when you just sit here and you just think to yourself, like, is this what it is to live in a society that is so hostile, not only towards Black people, but towards Black children? Are we so not thought of as human beings that a 15-year-old girl could go through something like that? And I just felt so tired and wary and frustrated, and like what can we do? You know? And a couple of people have asked for like my views, what do you think? Have you seen it? And da. And I've said, yes, I've seen it. And just, why, sir? It's shocking, it's traumatic. The adultification of Black children, Black girls, is such a big issue. And where I get massively frustrated is, if you're not careful, you can sit in this, what I call like this corporate, this professional bubble of talking about racism like it's another agenda item, And it's so much more than that, because actually we are talking about people's lives, and we are also talking about when their humanity is being stripped away. We're talking about death in some instances. And I get frustrated because I feel like we're too casual. We're too like accepting of one incident, another incident, another incident, another incident. We want awards for hiring more Black people, for mentioning racism in our DEI plans, and a year's worth of progress, in inverted commas, means submitting for some next trophy, We have institutions that fundamentally do not want to acknowledge they have an issue with systemic racism, because to acknowledge it means that you have to do something about it, and they don't want to do anything about it. So because they don't want to do anything about it, these things keep happening. And let's remember, this happened 2 years ago in East London, Hackney, right? There are people connected to the Metropolitan Police who are here on LinkedIn who categorically denied that the Met Police has an issue with institutional racism. We have a government that does not want to do anything more to ensure that teachers are not harming Black children, despite the fact that we still have stories every single day of how Black children are marginalised, how they're excluded, how they're bullied, how they're just treated appallingly. But our own government wants to say, actually, it's not really an issue. And I think what people don't clock, who were not directly impacted by this, is that part of the reason why so many of us, even, and I'm going to include myself in this, are so like traumatized almost, for want of a better word, is we can see how if our skin color is different, how people are willing to roll out the red carpet. We can see how legislation can be changed just like that for people who don't look like us. We can see how companies are pouring everything they've got, sharing loudly and proudly about what they're doing to support people who don't look like us. Because our trauma has become so normalized, so accepted, that it's enough to express shock and horror and then you move on. I see the Black community talking about this. Where are the allies? So all those people that claims they want to be better allies, all these non-Black people who are writing blog articles, publishing books even off the back of Black Lives Matter, where are they when these incidences are happening? What support is being given to community leaders? This young girl is forever changed by this experience. And the Metropolitan Police and the school or whoever thinks apology is enough. And like, I don't have an answer. Like, I can't, sit here and say, we should do X and we should do Y, but I do know that I don't have it in me to keep accepting any more apologies and trying to brush it over and say, well, I don't have it in me to reassure people that things are getting better, because are they? Are they really getting better? Or are we just being seduced by symbols of change here? And I'm put that in inverted commas. Has everyone had enough of talking about racism because, quote unquote, there's more important things going on in the world? So it's okay for us to continue to be treated in such a way, whether it's this poor young 15-year-old girl, and there's countless of young people who are victims of systemic racism, because we live in a society where we still have to keep knocking on doors and begging and pleading for those in power to do something, and they're not interested unless there's money to be made, right? And that's really difficult to ignore. My daughter is nearly 4, my eldest daughter is nearly 14 years old. That could have been her. As I'm taking her and my youngest and, we're wandering about Marks and Spencer's and, she's being a typical teenager, I just looked at her and I just thought, that could have been you. You could have had that experience. And in the same way that the school called the police before they called the parents, I would not have known. That 15-year-old girl's parents had no idea that happened. Because what the school teachers did is, when they suspected her of having weed, they called the police first. What goes through the teacher's mind? Not the parents. They called the police. So when people say, oh, there must be extenuating circumstances, excuse my French, but there's no fucking extenuating circumstances to justify a 15-year-old to be assaulted in that way. And that's what it was assault. And what's offensive to me is the fact that people always try and find but she must have done something. There must be something that we don't know. What is there that why do we always do that? Why do people always do that, try and excuse that away? And it's so difficult. Like, I wish I was one of these people who could keep this work as just like a professional surface level something, dip in and out when I feel like it, and be seduced by carrots of, things improving. But there's so many of us that see what really happens, and we still know, we still experience it ourselves, that things haven't changed that much. Like, how have we come to living in a society that is okay with exhibiting raw violence? And that raw violence isn't about picking up a weapon. That's about the apathy, the silence. That's the discomfort and wanting business cases and validation and, all of these things to just address the fact that we are rotten at the core of our society because we are unwilling to acknowledge and take accountability and responsibility. This is how those situations keep happening, and I know there's so many people who have been affected by what they've read. Like, you literally feel sick to your stomach. I couldn't even read, I started to read like the full. Okay, I couldn't do it. I'm not going to lie to you, I couldn't do it. And I can't imagine having to trot into work tomorrow. And people talk, I don't even know what people talk about these days, because clearly the last time I was in an office was like ages ago, but you know what I mean. Like, people clipping into work and, oh yeah, I did this, and then you just be sitting there. Like, I'm just sitting here. I can hide in my office, it's fine, but I'm just sitting here thinking, I can't even barely string a sentence together. And somebody says, how are you? And you're like, I'm fine, but not. But it didn't happen to me, but I kind of feel like it could have. And just to see the excuses that we're making up for this. Like, I don't want to hear that our mayor of London is appalled. Like, what are you going to? I don't want to hear the word appalled. I don't want to hear the word shocked. I don't want to hear that you, like, what are you going to do? I don't want to hear that they're going to watch it closely. That happened 2 years ago. And we've seen the chief of the Met Police in front of the media say that there's no such, they don't have an issue with institutional racism, knowing that this is only one incident that we know of. There's probably loads that we don't know about. And why am I talking to you? Listen, I don't even know. I think like sometimes coming up on here is like therapy for me. Do you know what I mean? But I think for those of you who are holding the line, for those of you who are still not accepting tokenistic gestures of, I'm not even going to say the word change, because who are still pushing, who still care enough to still push, this is how serious it is. This is not about a little PowerPoint presentation. There are still too many incidences of all sorts of things happening within organisations that impact on Black colleagues. We're still seeing it out here in the streets. We're now still seeing it with our young people. So tell me then, all these things that we claim we've done, have they made a difference? Clearly not. We shouldn't have to be here trying to find ways to make it more palatable, more interesting, more, we shouldn't have to be doing that, because we already see, and this is the thing what people forget, it's not that we lack capacity to do differently, it's because we don't want to. Because now, with what's going on in the world, we now have a direct comparison. And that's what's really difficult. That's what's the bitter pill to swallow in all of this. Because you could sit back and say, well, people only have so much bandwidth. They can't take on, there's only so much they can do, because, it has been 2 years since Black Lives Matter, and the business is getting a bit tired and people are getting a bit tired of talking about it. So, And then lo and behold, this resurgence of energy and generosity and, you know, outpouring, provided it's not for Black people, provided it's not for people with melanin in their skin. We live in a very conditional society, and by definition, that passes on into our organisations. Very conditional. But our humanity isn't. You know? Oh, gosh. And probably, I wonder if I'm the only person probably struggling with this. Do you know what I mean? Then it's just me and my little depressed bubble. But I can't even think about any words of positivity because it's just so shit. You know? So listen, thank you for listening. I can see there's lots of comments. So what I will do, because I am gonna try and acknowledge. I genuinely thought at this late hour there's going to be nobody here to listen to my little therapy session. So thank you for being very patient with me. Play a little gospel music, and then let me see what you've got. Let me see what you're saying, and then I can hopefully try and. Oh dear, let me make sure the music is on. Let me see.
Johnson. Listen, when a person becomes a believer, their spirit is made right. But sometimes the heart realm, the soul realm, the mind realm is a little slow getting the message because life has left a hole in it due to molestation, low self-esteem, abuse. But I came to tell you that God has come to heal the hole in your soul. My sister Leandria is going to help me with this story. Take your time, sister. Sing it for somebody.
Honestly, Jason, I'm right with you.
Rescue me from myself.
Cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
Anybody overthink a lot, that hurts you.
Hurt me.
That's right. Now let's take it up and cry out.
Sorry, John, I can't see all of your comment here. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Deliver me.
Take your time.
Cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
Anybody out there got that message?
Hurt me.
We should be finishing it, but I need you to just say it one more time.
Deliver me.
What?
Cause all I seem to do is hurt me.
Rescue me from myself, God.
Hurt me.
Say it, Michelle.
Tri-City.
Honest to
The background. Say it again. Hold up.
I know. And that is the bit that's it's so I don't even know what to say or like
Rescue me from myself.
Yeah.
From my overthinking. That's right. Now let's take it up, choir. Let's take it up. We're singing this for somebody.
Not at all.
Get down on your knees and just say,
Not at all. I promise you. Not at all.
if my people who are called by my name would just sometimes get back down on your knees and pray and say, oh,
Yep.
Anybody got it? Do I have a witness out there? Anybody need deliverance from yourself, from your overthinking? All right, this is it. I'm gonna let you take it out, Leandria. Go ahead and talk.
I'm saying goodbye to the old me. And I'm saying hello to the brand new me.
It really is not. I promise this is not isolated. This is not isolated. It's absolutely not.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Coxon, yes indeed. Oh, sorry, honestly, I can just keep.
Sometimes you just gotta say
Thank you,
thank you, Lord.
Jason. Honestly,
Sometimes we gotta get on our knees
yeah.
and just
I
say,
don't
God,
honestly don't know what to
rescue
say.
me from myself. The best is still yet to come for you. This is your exodus, starting right now, at this very moment. This is it. This is it. One more time, choir. One more time. This is. Take it up there. This is. If you know it. Here we go. This is.
Lord, I thank you. You gave me a chance at the 10, and you never let me.
Denise, no, I didn't want to go there. I left it implied in the ether. But that's what I'm saying. We can get laws changed, but not for us. Oh, thank you, Jason. No, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We can all do with a little bit of Leandra Johnson. It's one of my favourite songs. Favourite songs. Always sends me into like a different universe when I hear this. Well, listen, as I said, thank you all so much for listening. I just want you to know that I get it. You know, like I promise you, I really, really get it. And, you know, I've seen a lot of media publications covering this story, and I'm hoping that some things are, I'm not even going to say I'm hoping that things are going to change. You know what I hope? I hope this is not one of those situations where we casually let this just be. You know, I hope that there's a few of us, more than a few of us, a group of us that go, right, okay, like, what can we do here? You know? Because if my children aren't even safe in school, if we can't even trust teachers, and listen, I do not want to hear anybody come and tell me not all teachers, not interested, don't care. It's not about that. You know, it tars the whole profession, just like the Met Police are tarred, because they do not want to do anything differently. And there are people here that will show themselves smiling and saying they don't have an issue with institutional racism. It's a few bad apples, and we accept that. So what does it mean not to accept that then? What does it mean not to accept or passively just allow people to gaslight us and offer these ridiculous apologies like they mean it. What's the apology going to do for this young girl and her family? What is that going to do? What does an apology do for any of us that have been victims of racism? Overt, ugly examples of, managers in there. I'm just thinking about us in the workplace, and we can all tell stories. Why is it we can all tell stories still? Why is it so many of you can still tell stories, Why is it our elders have stories and we don't have less stories than they did, so things haven't changed? That's the bit. So when are we going to stop accepting that? Because this is the thing now. This is where, for everybody who's got to put their stake in the ground and go, right, okay, as a person impacted by this, what am I prepared to risk to make sure that I can at least say that I've done something? Somebody who claims they're an ally. Okay, what is it that you're prepared to do and putting the stake in the ground? And in the nicest way possible, I ain't talking about going to no book club. Like, time, place, all of that, but this ain't it. Book clubs are not the solution. I know, says me that's bringing out a book. I'm being deadly serious with this. That's not the sort of allyship that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the allyship where you're in a position of influence and you can absolutely make decisions that overnight that can transform the experiences for Black people, either in the community, either in the workplace. So how are you willing to use that influence? Because in the nicest way possible, we don't need anybody to wipe our tears or offer us tissues. That's not what we need. And as Black people impacted by this, how are we willing to then use our voices? Because staying silent isn't working, is it? It's not working. Relying on the 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are consistently vocal is also not sustainable. We all need to be channeling like the inner versions of Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, whoever, Bell Hooks, whoever is your Angela Davis, whoever is the Black community leader, or, the Pan-Africanist, whoever it is that inspires you. How do we channel that within ourselves rather than looking for 1 or 2 figures? Because no one MP, no one prime minister, no one president, no one CEO is enough to address this, because it is so insidious and it is so systemic. Things only change when the will of the people force things to change, and it's not enough to just have a few, 5 or 6 people. Like, it's going to take more than that. And I think for a lot of people who are seeing some of the things that are playing out in the US, like literally parents losing their goddamn minds over critical race theory in inverted commas, whilst at the same time you've got kids holding slave auctions for Black children in schools, and then the same parents are, like, it's mad. But everyone looking over there and thinking, oh, that's terrible, like things aren't bad here. Well, look at this. And we've got plenty of these examples. But the thing is, with our racism, it's like arsenic. We'll just slip it into your tea and you'll sip it. It's poison. We're more covert about it. That's the difference in some instances, obviously not this one. Racism is a global issue. And we've got to start recognizing that and stop kidding ourselves that these little crumbs of change is enough. Like, because I can't, not on my watch, I can never imagine my daughter at 15 years old going through that. As I said, I was just looking at her, like, holding her face, and she's like, Mom, what's the matter with you? Why are you holding my face? Because I was a bit like, because that would be her life destroyed. I don't care how much therapy she would have, that would be her life destroyed. We cannot be this callous. Conversely, we cannot accept this callous treatment. We can cope with a lot as adults. But I'm telling you, our silence, our children are paying for our silence. Our children are paying for our passive acceptance. This is not a judgment thing. I'm saying, we all been there. But they are paying the price because there is no improvement generation to generation, is there? There is no improvement. Oh, look at me. I've been on here for 30 minutes. Shall I play one more song? Shall I play one more? Let me try and find something a little bit nice. A little bit nice, just to close us out, just to like ease my spirit, because otherwise, Lord have mercy. And I'm not even a drinker, so it's not even like I can drown my sorrows in alcohol. I've had a cup of tea. Right, let me see what I can find. Let me see. Right. There's nothing like a little bit of Aretha Franklin. She always improves my mood a little bit. So we'll have a little sing song.
No, you don't call anymore. I sit and wait in there.
Paulette, I think I need to do more, to be honest. Like I was just sitting in just like my head was all over the shop.
I wanna tell you, baby.
Yeah. You know, sometimes we just need a communal moment. You know, just to know that we're amongst people who feel like we're feeling, and also that you're not on your own. You know.
Why did you have to be sad? You had to set me free. I'm gonna swallow my pride.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. No.
Baby, please save me. What you see me. I'm gonna walk by myself just to prove that my love is true. Oh, for you, baby. Till you come back to me, that's what I'm gonna do.
Rita, say it again. Say it again. Thank you, Parker. Thank you. Thank you for just tuning in and listening. You know, just allowing me to talk. Yes, Kelly. Yes. But these to look at the alternatives of what's happening anyway. You know? Come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. You're welcome, Lisa. You're very welcome. Yes, love a bit of Franz Fanon. Yes, Dr. Ollie. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Oh, somebody suggested a song. All right, then. Let me just play what you know what I'm like. You know what I'm like. Right. Hold on. Let me see. Black is Beautiful. Do I know this song? Let me see if I can find this song. Who's that? Right. Hold on. Black is Beautiful. Oh, yeah, here it is. All right, I'll play this. I don't think I've ever heard it.
Here is a story told to the children of Africa.
Okay, let's play it.
We love the children of Africa,
Okay.
teaching the children. Oh, da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Oi, black eye, black hair, black skin, black queen, stand majestic with the black king. Today I'll sing you a black song. You need to hear about beautiful black things. Cause most time we hear about black, we hear about black magic and black witches. Black list, black book, black market, black
Who is this person? Who is this? There's only one person I know who really likes their black phonics, and that's Rosemary. So who's this next person? So I want to know, sorry, this is not showing me who you are.
When you see Walter Rodney, ask him, oh, you not hear about how we laughing. So when the little offspring asking, tell them they never told us that black is beautiful. They never told us black is beautiful. They never told us that black is beautiful.
Oh, Isabella, thank you, Isabella.
Black is beautiful. You a behave and a go on like you never spent 500 years on a farm. The same chain you are wear and a go on is another black life in Sierra Leone. Boy, find out Mama Earth got gold then. They find out Mama Earth black soul then. You work hard just to get a black card, same card where you swipe right back your black gold then. Well, I see enough faces long, but this is not a racist song. This is a
Sign
song
off.
for the
I
children
promise.
who
Now,
was
it always
never
takes me about
told
20 minutes to
about
sign off when I'm doing this. But thank you all so much. You know, I know this is like the 5th time I've said thank you, but thank you. I do, as I said, I appreciate you just allowing me to just not even be very articulate at times, because I just wanted to almost sit in silence. Like, I think if I could have sat in silence for 20 minutes and just, you know, virtually looked at you all, I probably would have done. But yeah, we continue. We continue. But I hope, if nothing else, we have to start asking ourselves some uncomfortable conversations, or we have to start asking some uncomfortable questions of ourselves, so we can stop repeating this pattern. You know, it's really easy to point the finger and they must, this person must, he must, she must. You know, change starts with us. So my parting words are just, what are we willing to do differently? You know, that's something I've got to sit and reflect on myself. So I'm not excusing myself from that work as well. All right, well, listen, you all take care, keep safe, and, you know, just, I always say this, don't I? But it's just BS. It's just BS. See you soon.